Hey guys, good morning. Happy Sunday. It's Daryl here. It is 5 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I want to talk briefly today about stories that shouldn't even be stories. Things that I shouldn't even be talking about, that shouldn't even be news. All right, number one. Yesterday was a big story. Donald Trump wears a face mask. The leader of our country, in the middle of a pandemic, does the right thing. Finally is coerced into wearing a face mask. This shouldn't even be a story. He should, as the leader of the country, it's common knowledge that this is one of the main things, an easy thing we can all do to turn the curve, to get back down, to start bringing down the cases again. Social distancing, wearing a mask, easy things. And for the first day, probably because a room full of his advisors finally convinced him, with his polls sinking, him sinking in the polls, finally convinced him that if he wants to be reelected, he needs to wear a mask. This shouldn't even be a story. He had to be coerced into doing the right thing. The fact that the leader of the country finally did the right thing. The thing that is good for everybody's health, for the entire country. This shouldn't even be a story. Rodger Stone. Trump supporters are cheering, all happy, because after all, the Russia investigation is a hoax. That's what Donald Trump says. This shouldn't even be a story. Why? Why shouldn't this be a story? Okay, let's just say for a minute that the Russia investigation, let's just say for a minute that it was a complete hoax. It was total bull, all made up just to damage Donald Trump. If that was the case, why would Rodger Stone need to tamper with witnesses? Why would he still need to lie to Congress? Why would he still need to obstruct justice? If he was on the right side of the law and it was a complete hoax, why would he need to lie? Why would he need to tamper with witnesses? The fact that he broke the law. Regardless of whether it's a hoax or not, he broke the law. And the part of this that is just ironic is Donald Trump is the law and order president. His supporters, damn it, if you break the law, you go to jail. Take, for instance, the kids, the kids in cages, southern border. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kids. Locked up now for 3 years because of their parents wanting a better life for their kids. If your town was overrun with murder and death and drugs, you'd probably get them out of there regardless if it was illegal. You do what you need to do to save your family. Okay? And your kids would have no say in this. It wouldn't be their choice. Trump supporters, well, they broke the law. The kids got to pay the price. Okay, so Trump supporters are okay with mentally, psychologically, emotionally damaging these kids. It doesn't matter if they're Mexican children, if they're American children. You're damaging children who did nothing, had no choice. They didn't break the law. And they've been locked up for 3 years now, but they broke the law. They got to pay the price. And on the other hand, you have this man who's been a lobbyist, a liar his whole life. Rodger Stone has done nothing but stir the pot to win at all costs. Lying is not a problem for Rodger Stone. A lobbyist, a man who made his living paying our legislators to do the bidding of corporations and foreign governments. Rodger Stone was a lobbyist for foreign governments, being paid by foreign governments to influence our legislators. That's a fact. Look it up. Look it up on WikiLeaks, on Wikipedia. The actual WikiLeaks, who Rodger Stone was in coercion, in business with. Look it up on there. He's been a bad guy his entire life, and he broke the law. Not only broke the law, but he's a felon. Felonies, lying to Congress, tampering with witnesses, and that still holds true. whether it was a hoax or not. And no, it wasn't a freaking hoax. But so you have this law and order, you have the Trump supporters who are all about law and order and doing the right thing. But as long as it fits their narrative, as long as it's part of their story. In this case, well, it was a hoax, so it was all okay. If it was a hoax, why would he need to do this? Usually good people who are doing the right thing don't need to tamper with the witnesses. They don't need to obstruct justice, and they don't need to lie. And what about, hey, Tucker Carlson? This guy should have never been on TV to begin with. It's come to light that he was using the stuff he was doing, harassing women, the racist stuff. And this is one of the championed news commentators of Donald Trump and his Trump supporters. And the stuff this guy was doing is just beyond reprehensible if you look at this story. These are things that just shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't be stories here in America. The fact that these are stories, what about the country talking about sending kids back to school? The fact that this pandemic has gone through different phases in different states. We need to, if you don't adapt, you die. That's, it's part of the survival of the fittest. Having a one-size-fits-all solution or policy is not part of survival of the fittest. It's a sure way to screw yourself. The states, obviously, it should be different policies for different states. Here in Connecticut, things are a lot more under control. Things are still going down. It'd be okay. Taking the advice of the CDC, that's a good idea. The fact that Donald Trump thinks he knows more than the CDC and wants to send the entire country back to school, these things shouldn't be stories. They shouldn't be happening here in America. The fact that these things, we're even talking about these things, is a sign that this country is terribly off course. There's something very wrong with this country. And here's the thing I realized a long time ago that's even worse, is that Trump is setting so many fires and screwing up every day so many times in so many places that we're unable to put out the fires. We're unable to even analyze and talk about them for more than a couple minutes before he sets another fire somewhere else. And we're forced to move on to this new fire without putting out the old one. These things are ruining, are setting this country ablaze. If any one of these things had happened during Obama's presidency, even if they happened in Bush's presidency, in any presidency, any one of these things that happen on a daily basis with Donald Trump, they would be kicked out of office. Not only would they probably be kicked out of office, they'd probably be burned at the stake and stoned in front of the White House. But it's become so normal with Donald Trump, with him, like I said, setting these fires, saying these things, these outrageous things, ignoring common sense, ignoring the advice of professionals, ignoring the advice of generals, of legal counsel, the Constitution, and just constantly setting fires because he knows best. These shouldn't be stories. These things shouldn't be happening in the United States. The fact that they are is a big sign that we're very far off track. Some things to think about today. You guys have a good Sunday.